Comic books, much like all forms of art medium, have been a way for writers, creators, and artists to express themselves and speak their opinions on various social issues, advocating for change within their culture, from wanting the United States to take the fight to Nazi Germany before the government had officially decided to with the creation of Captain America, to discussions of drug abuse and race relations in the 1970s, with characters like Luke Cage, or Ra's al Ghul and Swamp Thing, that promoted the idea of environmentalism and how polluted the world had become. Even characters like Anarchy from the 1990s had a unique agenda to educate the world on anarchism and what that means for society. In recent years, there has been a push for equality, and rightfully so, that everyone can be a superhero, and that the world around them, for all intents and purposes, have their back. If anyone doesn't agree, it doesn't matter, because the rest of the world will move on, with or without them. Extreme conservatism no longer has a place and in time will disappear, or at the very least grow so insignificant that, well, it will become trivial. Sometimes, superhero stories will put a face and a name to bigotry, not to commend it or to promote it, but to criticize and educate, show us the reality of what we sometimes face, the evil found within humans, and the terrifying and dangerous repercussions that can result from those ideologies. In 2011, we were introduced to the American Panther, an individual who embodies everything King T'Challa, Black Panther, fights against: racism, discrimination, ignorance, all fueled by vengeance. In many ways, he's one of the greatest foils Black Panther has ever had, from an ideological point of view and from a visual point of view. While T'Challa donned a civilian disguise of Dr. Okonkwo, he was forced to confront a man by the name of Josh Glenn, who had been publishing misleading photos of the Black Panther to turn the public against him. Josh Glenn had been fired from his office job a year earlier due to his discriminatory behavior. Fascinated with the work of the hate-monger, he would attempt to rally Americans to his cause, that immigrants were stealing their jobs and taking over, though in reality immigration itself fuels more jobs if anything. Anyways, while down and out, the spirit of the original hate-monger hitches a ride on an Asgardian fear object and would possess Glenn, turning him into the new hate-monger. Now before I continue, you're probably wondering just who in the hell is the hate-monger. Well, basically, he was a clone of Adolf Hitler, created by Ernim Zola, and by that I mean Zola transferred his brain into another body when he died, following the events of World War II. So, yeah. Anyways, Josh Glenn had become the new hate-monger, possessed by the original one's evil spirit. Just go with it. That's where we find ourselves now. When T'Challa came face to face with hate-monger, he was also graced with the distasteful presence of the American Panther, the muscle behind hate-monger's operation. American Panther is not only willing to protect his boss, but in his eyes is the savior of the American people. He will protect them no matter what the cost. Though his real name is unknown, it's revealed that when the American Panther was just a boy, his father was killed at the hands of an immigrant who was also his mother's lover. When the killer was extradited to Sweden for his trial, he walked away free on a technicality. This resulted in the American Panther growing up with pure hatred and hostility towards immigrants, viewing them all as corrupt, which is why he teams with the hate-monger to promote the idea of embracing the hate. When he fights Black Panther later in the story, he tells him that he should have left his mother alone, meaning, like many like-minded individuals, he paints all immigrants the same way, sort of like everyone from the Middle East being a terrorist after 9/11. It's an unjust and unfair belief system formed from ignorance, or the refusal of, well, logic. Anyways, Black Panther would of course stop the villains by attaching a special device to Josh Glenn's head, which exorcises the evil spirit of hate-monger from him. Too bad he's still an asshole. Then, with poetic justice, American Panther is kicked into the mob of people who had been cheering them earlier, but now they have turned on him, not wanting to be controlled. He is essentially eaten alive. Though the American Panther only made one appearance throughout the events of a 3-part story, I think there was a lot to say with him, and he posed a challenge to the Black Panther, not only physically but from a moral standpoint too. Of course, T'Challa's ideology is vastly superior, you don't need me to tell you that. But when someone faces off against you with such an extreme stance, the polar opposite of your own, it can make for an interesting dynamic. American Panther was a former police officer for the NYPD who used that role to vent anger towards immigrants and was guilty of countless instances of brutality. It also provided him with the skills necessary to do what he does now, hate on people full time. The mentality of the American Panther is that of a right-wing extremist, hell-bent on maintaining their country's traditions and culture no matter what the cost, a fight that in many ways is futile, seeing that time changes all things, and 200 years from now, beliefs, traditions, and even borders might not be the way we see them now, just like they were vastly different 200 years prior. That's progress. In time, change is inevitable. Society will evolve towards what is now accepted, and only more and more things will become acceptable in the future. That's how this works. Right-wing extremists like the American Panther and the hate-monger feel vulnerable, insecure, get defensive, and generalize when it comes to outsiders, immigrants, really change in general. They are some of the more toxic and hurtful members of society, and their ideologies are fossils of the past. In time, they will be buried and even ridiculed by future generations. Many already are. There isn't a place for these outdated beliefs in today's society. The American Panther wears a costume that resembles the flag of the United States of America. He believes he is fighting for his country, defending his people, but the US is supposed to be free. The very definition of a free country is one that allows its inhabitants to believe what they wish without punishment or discrimination, and is a safe haven for those that need entry to start a new life and become a citizen if they so desire. The fact that he wears these colors yet believes such closed-off thoughts makes him hypocritical, not to mention a complete contradiction of himself in the process. At the end of this story, after American Panther is taken into police custody, we see that another mysterious individual has donned his costume, something that has not yet been answered, but honestly it never will, because this is to symbolize that there will always be another American Panther, there will always be another bigot. Regardless of how progressive the world becomes and the changes we are able to make as a whole, ignorance is something taught, unfortunately, and not something people are born with. As babies, the skin color of someone, where they were born, or what sexuality they have doesn't matter to us. Sadly, we are taught hate, and if we are taught it, we can be untaught it. Well, hopefully. This has been NerdGasm. What do you guys think of American Panther? I know he crosses a very political line, I try to avoid that on here, but let me know what you think of him in the comment section below. Keep it tasteful though, I don't want to have to delete comments or close them off from this video entirely. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit that subscribe button and share it to help me out. I will see you in the next one. Take care.